firm foundations. Thank you for watching. In this series, we're learning how to separate the facts from the fiction in LDS history and doctrine. Today, we're briefly talking about Lucy Mack Smith, Joseph Smith's mother, and a very important figure in early LDS history. One of the amazing things about Lucy Mack Smith is that she wrote a lot. She journaled and she wrote a history of Joseph Smith by his mother. So we have a lot of information on her, how she felt, what she knew about Joseph's activities, and her own testimony-building experiences. Lucy was born in 1775 in New Hampshire. She grew up during one of the most tumultuous times in American history, and she was a toddler during the Revolution, and grew up during a fresh and delicate time when the American politics and the Constitution were being crafted and implemented. Lucy grew up in a very religious home, which was typical at the time. In a time of war and uncertainty, her mother, Lydia, encouraged moral and religious piety in her children. Lucy and her older sisters all documented spiritual visions or dreams, and Lucy's brother Jason went on to form a religious community when he grew up. In 1796, Lucy married Joseph Smith Sr. Their first child died shortly after birth, and Lucy later gave birth to two sons, first Alvin and later Hiram, before she became ill with what was diagnosed as consumption. Consumption, which we now assume was tuberculosis, wasn't curable at the time, and it was the same illness that had already killed two of Lucy's sisters. However, Lucy was not prepared to die. She wrote that she prayed and pleaded with God to let her live and raise her children. She promised to serve God all of her life, and then she heard a voice telling her, "Seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. Let your heart be comforted. Ye believe in God, believe also in me." Lucy experienced a surprising recovery and began searching for a church that fulfilled the organizational precepts taught in the Bible as well as her spiritual needs. After her recovery, Lucy gave birth to 8 more children, including Joseph Smith Jr. Joseph Smith Sr. was a spiritual man, but didn't ascribe to any specific congregation, and Lucy was worried about her husband's lack of religious participation, but she was comforted in a dream. Joseph Smith Sr. also had many dreams full of spiritual symbolism. At this period in time and space, it was common for ministers to encourage women to be the moral backbone of their family, teaching their children not only how to read, write, and work, but also how to faithfully attend church and study and live the teachings of the Bible. In this context, Lucy was the ultimate soccer mom, so to speak, meaning that she volunteered at churches, encouraged and taught her family the biblical texts, and was engaged in religious community activities. Not only did Lucy bear the primary responsibility for her own spiritual well-being of herself, her husband, and her 10 children, Lucy also taught her children secular subjects, while helping run the farm and keep the house. Joseph, who struggled in school, learned to read and write thanks to the tutelage of his mother. For several years, Lucy was an active member of her local Presbyterian congregation, but around the same time that Joseph Smith Jr. discovered the gold plates, she stopped attending. She said, "We were now confirmed in the opinion that God was about to bring to light something upon which we could stay our minds, or that he would give us a more perfect knowledge of the plan of salvation and the redemption of the human family. This caused us greatly to rejoice. The sweetest union and happiness pervaded our house, and tranquility reigned in our midst." She was hopeful and believed that God was bringing forth a new light and knowledge. Historian Jan Ships noted that Lucy uses the pronouns we, ours, and us in her records when discussing early church restoration, rather than only referring to his or he in reference to her son Joseph's responsibilities. It appears that Lucy viewed the restoration as somewhat of a family mission, not a solo responsibility to be carried out by Joseph alone. When the Smith family moved to Kirtland, Ohio, Lucy was fondly known by many saints as Mother Smith. She hosted many incoming families in her own home, letting them sleep in her bed as she slept on the floor as they arrived in Kirtland and joined the LDS movement. When Joseph Smith Sr. became a patriarch, Lucy would often accompany him to blessings, and in at least one recounting, it is suggested that she participated in the blessing. After Joseph's death, Lucy at first supported the claims of James Strang to lead the church, but later changed her mind and supported Brigham Young. Lucy stayed in Nauvoo with her daughters and daughter-in-law Emma when the Saints immigrated west to present-day Utah. But before leaving, Brigham Young gave her the title of Mother in Israel, a title that was sustained on her by the Saints in a general meeting. Towards the end of 1844, Lucy began her first draft for her biography of her son Joseph. It took her about a year to write it, and she finished the project with 2 complete manuscripts. one of which she kept with her, and the other one ended up in the hands of Orson Pratt in England, who edited and published it about a decade later in 1853. Before her own death, Lucy had to mourn and bury at least 6 of her 11 children. She led a life of suffering and undaunted faith, boldly living her truth and supporting her family through thick and thin. Lucy passed away in 1856. There is some controversy around her biography and Brigham Young's reaction to it. Basically, Brigham Young noticed that Orson Pratt's publication contained some inaccuracies and eventually asked the saints in Utah to destroy their copies. Later, under the direction of Lorenzo Snow and Joseph F. Smith, Lucy's grandson, Lucy's biographical sketches of Joseph Smith were republished. That's a very brief summary, so if you have additional questions surrounding Lucy's biographical texts about Joseph, please check out the answers on the Fair Mormon website, linked below. So, that's a brief overview of Lucy Mack Smith. We will definitely tell more of her stories in more detail in upcoming episodes, but thank you for joining us today. Firm Foundations is created by me, Hannah. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.